Hi, I'm Sophie, this is D&B TV, and we are here in central London talking to SpectraSoul about their new tracks, Lost Disciple and Reminiscence, and their new album. So we've caught up with SpectraSoul in central London to talk about a few things, old and new. Firstly, I want to ask you what it's like working as a duo together. Is one of you more musical and the other one more technical, more creative? How does that generally work?
It's pretty even, I guess. It depends what mood we're in the studio.
Yeah.
It's like, I might be tired and take the back seat for a little while, and he might just crack on and start with an idea or something. Jack's pretty good when it comes to like the technical side of things, like the sort of fiddly bits of numbers, and I'm quite good at standing in the back going, do that and change that and make it sound like that, and
Pointing like, do this, do this.
I guess we first hooked up, it was like 2006.
Okay.
And it was just from like living in Brighton and swapping tunes and whatnot.
Yeah.
London is quite, you know, it's cliquey. It's quite cliquey. I'm quite glad we're not part. Well, I kind of like to dip in and out of it, but I like the fact that we weren't part of the London thing because it meant that we didn't get influenced by anything that was going on at the time we were coming through. We were like probably about a year behind Alex. We were always good friends with Alex from when he was starting to come through, and that obviously kind of bled into our work. But being kind of secluded, we kind of put our own spin on it, being not part of the London scene, I think.
What has it been like working with Shogun, obviously working with Ed and Keir? What's the whole Shogun thing like?
It's been great since day dot. Not to sound totally cliche, but it's like one big family thing, you know?
Yeah.
You know that you've instantly got 4 or 5 other people that are going to be supporting your music, you know, all the time.
But it'll also be critical as well, which is quite important too. If we're working on something and we've got a track going, if it's not really working within an hour, maybe 2, then we know it's not going to work.
We don't tend to force it. So if it's working, we kind of know, and then it's almost like the tune writes itself. It's the easiest work when when you've nailed like the key core of the tune within an hour, it tends to just write itself, and those are always the best ones. We will finish like the body of a whole tune maybe in 1 session, 2 at a push.
And how long does a session typically last for?
God, long. Like we tend to go in there. There's been times, I think over Christmas we were there like, I was getting there at 1 in the afternoon and leaving at 5 in the morning, and we kind of did that 5 or 6 days in a row, and it killed me, but we got lots of work done.
Yeah. Okay, go on, what are the 2 secret ingredients?
1 is whiskey and 2 is pizza. And that's it. That's all you need. Are we allowed to do like a little shout to our delivery guy?
Go on, you can do a shout.
What's his name? Fernando, I think it is. Pronto a Tavolo, like the best pizza in Brighton, and he keeps us fed in the studio.
I do want to touch as well on your sort of current release that is coming out. It's on the 4th of April, which is Lost Disciple backed with Reminiscence. Let's talk a little bit about the first track, Lost Disciple. I know there's a lot of sort of chords in there that they're kind of distorted. It sounds amazing. Can we talk a bit about what went down with that?
We were going to hold it for the album, but we just thought, well, I don't want it to sit there and go stale.
Because it's such an old track, and we've taken a long time to kind of perfect it and get it right. Once you take a step back and listen to it, I think for me it's one of our only tracks that it's drum and bass speed, but it doesn't sound like drum and bass, and to me it doesn't really sound like anything else. That's
when you know I think when you've got a good tune on your hands is when you step away from it and come back to it and you still like it. We think it's one of the best tunes we've done.
And do you have any comments on Reminiscence on the B-side?
It's a bit of, I guess, a little homage to the old days. General kind of jungle kind of vibes.
Yeah.
We were just going through some old files of drum loops we had, and we had this drum loop there that was kind of ready to go. And this weird kind of old, it almost sounds like an old full cycle bass line kind of, if you hear it without the drums, not that anyone ever will, it sounds like a full cycle bass line. So we were going for that kind of, not that kind of sound, but like a homage to that, with like a kind of big vocal and a kind of rollout.
So the album, which I believe is due to drop early next year, is that true?
Yeah, we're planning for it to be an early 2012 release.
Does that mean that you've already been working on the tracks and that you've got sort of a body of music with a concept, or?
We have a kind of iTunes track list of I think about 18 tracks. 1 or 2 are drum and bass, for like that you would consider drum and bass, and some are 170 speed but don't really sound like drum and bass. I think we kind of just went through a phase of just writing, you know, blowing off some steam, writing some other styles that weren't necessarily kind of club music. We're kind of regrouping now and coming back to a kind of point where we think, right, how are we going to make these shape into an album? We think we're just going to keep throwing mud against the wall, and eventually there'll be like some coherent thing that all sticks together, and that becomes the album.
Influence comes from lots of different places. There's so much good, weird, wacky music that to kind of broaden minds.
At the moment, I'm like really hooked on Hendrix, fully hooked on Jimi Hendrix.
Kazza has showed me about a new band called Oak, and they're really, really cool. I think that's a girl and a guy.
I don't think you can say that music has an aesthetic, but if it did, that's what feeds in. We listen to so much stuff that I can hear is fed in. When you listen back a few months after you've made the tune, you're like, I can hear that in another track. You're not thinking consciously, oh, I'm going to do a copy of this, but it just happens.